change the world.
And that's what you're gonna do.
Nigeria Chambers here from Big Gold Belt Media. Rupert, thank you so much for your time today. Super excited to talk about your latest project, Washington Black, which is going to be in Hulu in the States and Disney Plus internationally July 23rd. How you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, if there's one thing I know about you from seeing your work from over the years is you love you a good period piece, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's my name, to be honest. I think if you call Rupert in England, you're going to get casted off in a lot of old frocks.
Typecasting, got it, just off the day. But I will say though, through the different eras that you played and the different characters that you played, that you're a very recognizable face. As soon as I see you, I know instantly who you are. But the layers in your characters have always been so has provided such a conflict for the viewers because they're just conflicted and layered characters in their own. And Mr. Golf is no other because I tell you, I really went into this series and I think there were some folks that were very easily to identify as problematic. And then there was ones that were, conflicted. I wanted to ride on the side of empathy with them. But Mr. Golf is still one I am battling with right now, although I've seen it all. So I want to give you the floor because I want to ask you because we see the relationship with him and his daughter sort of be, like almost like a tug of war. Like she's gaining understanding about the decisions he wish he had made. We see that he's trying to do his best to make the right decisions for her, and protect her as well. And it's not just protection for a arranged marriage, but it's also like the societal things that she's going to endure. And I do think at a very pivotal time where he has to make probably one of the most critical decisions and all, which we know what happens in the finale, he goes a route that I wasn't expecting. That's all I'll leave for that. So when you navigate a character like this, how do you want the viewers to relate to him, to understand him?
Well, I mean, always really interested in people's contradictions, and I like the fact that yeah, I first of all I approach it from the contradictions. I mean, my take on him is that he's a decent guy. He's a weak guy.
Okay.
He's got a big ego, a huge ego, like a lot of scientists. He isn't brave enough to stand up for, I think the reason he is sort of living vicariously through his daughter, he wants his daughter to do things that he never did.
Yeah.
He lost confidence in staying with the woman out in New Caledonia. Was it New Caledonia? Yeah. But when the mother died, he did go all the way to pick her up and bring her back, which was in those days is a year's journey, and it's
Yes.
perilous. It's not, he's not uncaring. I think he's a caring man who is fatally weak and fatally egotistical and proud, and not strong enough to stand up for the things he believes in his heart. I think he worries about society and he worries about money, and he worries about the future for his daughter. So I think those things are sort of, for me was a very interesting contrast, and a guy that's slightly at war with himself, which I thought was interesting to play.
Yeah, yeah. Really quickly, because you personally have been one of the biggest advocates for mental health.
Yeah.
And I imagine, and much like myself, with that sort of consciousness to it, we see that in through the lenses of life in a lot of aspects of things. And then I go back to this character because I think at times with losing a wife and being the sole parent of a daughter and navigating the daughter, and I don't want to give anything else about the daughter and where she goes to and what happens, but like it is a complicated ride for her as well too. But he's also now, working through a responsibility he once didn't have, which I think he never had the time to properly process the death of his wife. And I think there is a measure of grieving that was never done which I think plays into his mental, which I think is why we see such a seesaw in the
I
mentality
think
of
that's
him at
exactly right. I
times.
think his wife was the love of his life, was the real love of his life. And I think you're absolutely right. I think that affected him incredibly deeply.
Yeah.
But I also don't think he was. I mean, scientists and writers and typically came from the upper class, and I don't think he's upper class. I think he's not quite of the class too. I think he's had to hustle,
Mm,
and then he's given up a good time of his hustling by falling in love with somebody on the other side of the world, and I think he's taken his eye off his career. And I think he's, in some ways he's full of regrets, but I mean, deep down, I think he's a good man,
yeah. Yeah.
even though, as we know, especially with mental health things, behavior isn't always, I mean, it is the surest way of seeing if somebody's a good heart or not. But good people behave badly too, and they behave
Yeah.
weakly, and they suffer from whatever they're suffering in their mentality. And I think he's, and so yeah. So I think that's sort of what he was. It was him in a way.
Yeah, I fully agree here. Fully agree. Another statement that was tossed towards him from Washington Black himself was saying that when talking to Mr. Goff, he says like, "You think you're soaring with the heavens, but you're stuck in the mud." And I thought that
Yeah,
was such a powerful statement.
yeah.
And
I
although we
mean,
don't quite know how he metabolizes that, but I'm wondering for you, when you think about the character and hearing somebody who has a huge ego, how do you think that sort of resonated with him?
I think unfortunately, Washington Black's right. I don't think he's certainly not as brilliant as Washington Black. Mentally, I don't think he has the sort of the brilliance that Washington Black has, but he might have persuaded himself that he did have, but he's just never had the chance.
Yeah.
And I think Washington Black holds up a very uncomfortable mirror for him in that moment,
Mm,
and I think he
mm.
has to accept some stuff about himself which he hasn't wanted to in the past.
Yeah. Ah, God, I love that. It's funny
It's a
enough
good
because
line, isn't it?
it really is. And I very much encourage everybody to watch the entire series. But that final episode is powerful in a way I never could imagine. Because it was such a fun ride, but it gets really real, surreal in a point in watching, and there's change of dialogue and fantastic performances across the board there. One last question I do want to leave you off with is because a lot of this is really about him maintaining the relationship with his daughter Tana, and as she navigates love, and I know he identifies that she has found love, but he still is sort of going the traditional route at that time in terms of the preservation of the family by ensuring that she takes the arranged marriage that he thinks is best, but I feel like he also understands where she's coming from. But he's, again, the seesaw battle here. First and foremost, working very closely by Iola in this, who's a fantastic actor, who I think also too has a lot of your qualities as an actor, very wide range in terms of really stepping into these characters from character to character. How special is it to work with somebody like that? And then when you are having again a conflicted character such as yourself, but a character who's really being driven by love on the other hand, how do you navigate those very emotionally driven moments with her?
I mean, well, by sort of trying to dig into the conflict. I mean, he does. You're right. He absolutely believes in love. He is, devastated because he couldn't be with the woman he loved, and that's haunted him his whole life. And he wants that for her. But also, I mean, in an historical context, a woman of color without much money is incredibly vulnerable to I mean, there's no safety net at all. There was no, I mean, in England we have probably a better social safety net than you do in the States, but
Yeah,
there was nothing then. There was the poorhouses and poverty and ruin.
yeah,
And that is the dilemma for him, is does he, I mean, his fear, a fulfilled man will probably be more full of fear than a fulfilled man.
yeah,
And I think fear is quite present in him. Um, and I think he sees that in the future and says, well, that has to be avoided at all costs, even if it means sacrificing love, which for him, of course, is a conscious thing because he's experienced it himself. But I think he believes that's the better option. but I also think he is morally weak too. I think he has a moral weak, which is born from fear in him.
Yeah. I love this series, and I tell you, I hope nothing more to turn the page, one page after the final episode, just to see where life is at with these characters, what have been learned, and what has transgressed since then. I think there's so much to wonder, and we'll have to see what happens. But in the meantime, folks get to check out Washington Black on Hulu and Disney Plus. July 23rd. Rupert, I just want to ask you really quick before we wrap. You're a very special actor. You've done this with an impressive resume. Why was this project special, and why do people need to tune in come July 23rd?
Well, first of all, I loved the scripts. I really loved the idea of an enslaved person, um, not being a tale of difficulty and woe, but of how the human spirit can leave terrible circumstances and become incredible and becoming the greatest being on this planet that they can be. And I love that sort of slightly fantastical element. But I love the way that this enslaved person becomes brilliant and completely fulfills himself and his potential. I thought that was a story I'd not seen, and I found that idea very exciting.
I really appreciate that. You're legendary, my brother. I really appreciate the time. Looking forward to talking to you again. And once again, folks, Washington Black coming July 23rd. It's been a pleasure talking to you today.
And to you, thank you.
Thank you so much.